Hi everyone, it's Debbie May. Welcome to my home for another episode of Soaping and Slippers. Tonight, we're not going to make a beer, but as you can see, my shirt says, let's get ready for shenanigans. This weekend is St. Patrick's Day, and so the projects I've selected today to make here in my home with you guys is a beautiful honey avocado melt and pour soap, a beautiful hand lotion that features the Vitaburst beads, and a liquid soap that also has the Vitaburst beads, and then there's some jojoba and different things. So pour yourself a glass of coffee or an evening tea. Join me with a beer. I don't drink green beer, but I have a green label for a Bud Light Lime. And then let's get started. Make sure that if you're watching this on Facebook, you like our Facebook page. Make sure that you share this with everyone because we're going to be here for maybe about 45 minutes, and I'd love to have more people join us. If you like what you see, heart the video, give us a thumbs up, let us know we're doing a good job. And then most of all, Jackie's behind the camera. Ask lots of questions because she wants to answer everything you need. So I'm just here chopping up some white soap before we got started. And I'm going to go ahead and stop this for a moment. I was getting ahead of the game. And I'm going to take the label off. And I don't know if you've been over to Wholesale Supplies Plus lately, but we have free label designs. And this label for the honey avocado soap is over there for free for you to use, download, sell your products, give them as gifts. Just go to Wholesale Supplies Plus, click on the Handmade 101 tab, and then click on free label designs, and it's in there. But I want to show you what we're going to make today, because I don't know about you, but every time I go to make something, I want to see what it is supposed to look like before I get started. So in this case, it's the honey melt and pour soap, and we're going to make this really cool honey design on the top. And then there's an avocado soap on the bottom. This hits two really powerful on-trend consumer desires right now. One is honey. Honey is hot. It's been hot for about a year. It's not going away. And the other one is avocado. It's considered one of nature's healthy fats, I've learned. It's good for you. We're actually supposed to eat about an avocado a day, I'm told. I just had my physical at the Cleveland Clinic, and she said, make sure you're eating at least an avocado a day. It also features the new Crafter's Choice fragrance oil that is avocado, cilantro, lime. And it's a really fresh, kind of a unisex fragrance, but it hits a lot of the trends right now, and I kind of like it. So what I did before we went on camera is we melted 12 ounces of honey, Crafter's Choice detergent-free honey soap base. And that's what this looks like here. I'm going to turn it around. There's not a super dark color to it. Because it's detergent-free, we don't have the high amount of honey content as the premium because it's harder to get in there. So it's a little bit lighter in color. If you want to darken it up, we're going to show you how to darken it for this soap. But the other thing you can do is you can overheat it just slightly, and the honey starts to caramelize, the natural honey, and you can naturally darken it. But we took 12 ounces of this, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to just pour off about an ounce. And I'm going to add, normally you can go half an ounce per pound. We've got 12 ounces. I'm only going to go about 12 mLs instead of 15. That's 12 mLs. And then I'm going to do a quarter of a teaspoon of the honey powder. And Wholesale Supplies Plus carries the Crafter's Choice honey powder. You guys know that. And then I'm going to do a quarter of an ounce of the turmeric powder. And that's how we get this beautiful color. Excuse my reach. I hope you guys like this new format, Soaping and Slippers. I'm having a ball inviting you guys into my house. I think usually you see us facing that way. I'm going to take a little mini mixer. The other word for this is a coffee frother. And I love it because it mixes that powder right into the soap and gets all your clumps. They don't like me when I start going off camera with angles, but it gets all those powder clumps mixed in really well. We're going to pour it right now into the soap. So we started with 12 ounces of soap. I poured off a little bit, and it's kind of like when you make gravy at Thanksgiving. If you were to dump all those powders right in, they're likely to clump up and not be as attractive. But if you can get them to disperse in a little bit, and then mix that little bit in, you get a beautiful dispersion. And just so you guys know, we're at about 130 degrees, and if you don't have a temp gun, this is a lifesaver. I can actually tell you it's 71 degrees in my house right now, but it lets you get a nice even temperature. It has 2 infrared dials so that it averages the 2. So what we're going to do is the Crafter's Choice 1506 mold, is that a good angle? Has a honeycomb design built into this. And so we're just going to take the soap we made and we're going to pour it right in. I'm going to scrape some of it out, get all that soapy goodness. You guys, make sure you ask your questions. If you have us, I'm told a lot of people put this on and then just walk around their house. I think that's awesome. Kind of like a podcast. And then what I do is I take the 99% rubbing alcohol and I pop the air bubbles that are on the top so that when we later pour our next layer, we don't have a bunch of air bubbles between the two when we go to cut the soap. And what I'm going to do by the power of video, and take that off camera, and ta-da! This is what it looks like. So you don't want to pull apart the sides after you get this because otherwise your soap's going to go down. You're not going to have a really clean cut. But this is going to be the soap that we're going to pour our second layer in. So this second layer, leave these here. Sometimes, you guys, I get so nervous when you tune in. I don't know why. We talk about this. You know why I get nervous? One of the things you guys don't know is they don't give me the recipes until literally 15 minutes beforehand. And the reason is we want to simulate, or I want to simulate, is if you just got the kit. These all come as kits at Wholesale Supplies Plus. And if you got the kit, you know, you don't know ahead of time kind of what should be done. And these videos are supposed to kind of emulate that. So now I like to cut my soap a little bit thinner than most because then it doesn't take as long to heat, and the less heat the better. So if you're new to Melt and Pour soap making, it is the Crafter's Choice soap base is a soap my husband's company makes for Crafter's Choice and private labels it. The detergent-free has no detergent. It's 100% real soap. He takes the coconut oils and all the fatty acids, mixes it with lye, and it's actually a hot process soap. He heats it overnight. He incorporates a few additives that allows it to melt and reheat, you know, re-solidify after you heat it. And he puts it in beautiful Crafter's Choice packages for me and for all of you. The premium bases and some of the other bases, the premium ones have more detergents, so you'll get kind of those Hollywood bubbles, those big bubbles. And the basic soap bases are a combination of the detergent-free, so it's got more coconut oil, but it has just a little bit of detergent, not much, but just so you get more creamy with a little bit more bubbles. The detergent-free base, you get more creamy. And hopefully this will all fit in. And while this is melting live in the microwave, we're going to talk a little bit more about the soap base. Feel free to ask questions. Make sure you like us and share us.
Debbie,
yes?
question while you were using the turmeric about if it would stain the skin, and I think that would be a good question.
Sure. So I'm going to answer that in 1 second. Let me get this in. Okay. I don't know if this is going to follow me on camera or not. So if not, I'll be right back. I'm going to start for 2 minutes, and then what will happen is as that melts down, I'll go ahead and add this last little bit that you can't see. So the question is, does the turmeric stain the skin? Turmerics can stain the skin, but we have pre-tested this recipe, and the amount added to this soap does not stain the skin. So yes, it can stain skin in some recipes if you overuse it, but in this recipe, and just like all of the kits we offer at Wholesale Supplies Plus, we pre-test them. You're good to go. Great question.
One more. Can you mix detergent-free and detergent soap, like the premium soap?
Yes. So the question is, can you mix detergent-free soap with the premium soap? And the answer is yes, and you'll get something very close to probably the basic recipe. And the ingredients should be pretty easy to list. If you can't figure it out, give us a call, but your ingredient list is going to look a lot like the basic soap bases. So that's a really good question. Can I mix soap bases? Where I think it gets a little dicey is, can you mix different brands? And that I probably wouldn't do. Like, I wouldn't take a melted goat milk from a nut that is not Crafter's Choice and mix it with white or something that is Crafter's Choice, because those ingredients, you don't really know like if they're compatible. The two formulas wouldn't know each other. So that would be a little bit more difficult. But as long as you're sticking with the Crafter's Choice soap bases, you're good to mix them. Are we good on sound and audio? If you guys turned in last time, we figured out the soaping in PJs with Allison. The silky PJs got a lot of static with the two microphones. So please tell us if we go off camera, if the sound isn't great. Remember, this is my home. It's not a professional studio. But we want to show, like, this is how I got started. This is what you guys do.
So you have another question from Sylvia. She says she's used Melt Pour before, and she says that it seems like there's a lot of slip. Is there glycerin in Melt Pour soap?
So Sylvia wants to know, is there glycerin in Melt Pour soap because it seems a little slick? And the answer is there's glycerin in all soap, but I got a beeping microwave, so give me 1 second. We're almost melted. So Sylvia's question was, is there glycerin in Melt Pour soap? And the answer is any soap where there's saponification, you're going to have natural glycerin. And then some formulas add additional glycerin based on the formula or additives that might require a wetting agent for more glycerin. So you have to look at your ingredient list. A lot of times glycerin is not listed if it's just from the natural saponification. A lot of manufacturers only list it if it's an added additive to the formula. And glycerin, as you know, can make soap kind of sweat. It wants to attract moisture to it. So a lot of soap-based, Melt Pour soap-based manufacturers have moved away from adding additional glycerin and only having the glycerin that's from the natural saponification. So I hope that answers your question, Sylvia. The girls were commenting, the young girls behind the camera, how they like my soap drawer. And I love it. I tried to, we remodeled the house not too long ago, and I tried to make it good for as we get older. I think this is pretty good. So we're not reaching up high with a lot of hot things. And here we go. So I can feel just a few soap chunks, and I'm going to let those naturally melt in the soap. We're at about a 147. While this cools down a little bit, one of the questions I get quite a bit is, how can I melt my soap in a way that allows the soap to work optimally? And the one thing you don't want to do is you don't want to overheat your soap. You don't want to put it in the microwave and let it get to 170 degrees or 180, because it'll disrupt the water balance and you can get little soap crystals that will develop over time. I've actually talked to people that have accidentally overheated it quite a long time, and it can smell a little bit like cat urine, and at that point you know that you burned your soap and you're better off just sort of throwing it out. The other thing we did at Wholesale Supplies Plus about 3 years ago, we developed a new way that somebody was making 100 bars of soap for a Make-A-Wish donation. And what we did is we worked and we tested, and we found that this system worked. We took a big spaghetti pan, and obviously it was not going to be used for spaghetti later, and we melted some soap on it and got it to about 135, and then we put it on a low simmer and added additional soap. It never boiled, it never overheated, and it didn't require a double boiler. And we were able to keep adding additional soap to it so that we were not always stopping, starting, stopping. So that's one idea if you have to make a large batch. Some people use a roaster. I don't know, I haven't had good luck with that, but sometimes I get impatient. Shocking.
You have another question.
Yep.
So we just added the coconut flakes.
Yes, coconut. Mm-hmm.
So someone would like to know if they can incorporate them into Mountain Pour Soap and how they would do that.
Okay, so the question is, can someone incorporate the new Crafter's Choice coconut flakes into the Mountain Pour Soap? And I'm going to tell you that yes, you should be able to do it. I have not tested it. Those coconut flakes make an awesome exfoliant, and they're great for decorating. I would think if you overheated your soap and got the temperature up higher, they could possibly melt a bit. So let your temperatures get to maybe a 140, a 135, add them. You're going to get a beautiful color variation, and you should get a little bit of a scrub. I love those coconut flakes. I can't wait to play with them more. I picture them like on a yellow pina colada soap and just decorated on top. They're a super fine grain that you cannot get in the grocery store, or I haven't been able to find them in the grocery store. So great question. Hello, everybody. I hope you're tuning in. If you're listening to us and walking away, good for you for multitasking. I'm going to try and talk our way through everything so that you don't need to necessarily listen. This is 32 ounces of detergent-free. We use detergent-free, right? Detergent-free white Mountain Pour soap base, and we're making this beautiful bar right here. We've already made the honey part and melted that. So now I'm going to go ahead and incorporate some of the additives that we're going to add to this part. First, we're going to add the avocado powder. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to use one of these little cups. I'm actually going to reuse, I'm going to show you. I'm going to reuse the cup that had the honey soap and the turmeric, because we're going to add color. And it's all about less dishes to do. So I'm going to add a half a teaspoon. If you hear a beep, it's probably my daughter walking in the house. Wait, first, I'm ahead of myself. First, pour a little bit off. Remember the gravy trick, you guys, that make turkeys with homemade gravy? We're going to add half a teaspoon directly. And then you all know that if I was making this to sell, we're going to do half a teaspoon of the honey powder, which is 2 of these quarters. If I was making this to sell and not gift give or for personal use, I would have a hairnet on. I would have gloves on. I have a face mask on. I have an apron on, but I want to show off my really cute shirt. So we're going to go ahead and add that. And then this is for 2 pounds of soap, and normally it's a ½ ounce per pound. So we're going to go ahead and do 1 ounce, which is 10 droppers.
While you're measuring,
yes.
I would like to know about wrapping Melt Pour soap. What's the best way to do it to avoid moisture?
4, 1 second. 5. Okay, so the question is, how can you wrap the Melt Pour soap to avoid moisture loss? And my answer is saran wrap. 1, just a minute, 2, 3, 4, 5. They laugh at me, guys. I can't chew gum and talk at the same time, let alone count. So with Melt Pour soap, because the water balance is so important, you want to wrap the soap. And that can be either in a cello wrap. It can be in, I like really cheap, like Reynolds type wrap. Plastic wrap. It can be a shrink wrap, but the problem with shrink wrap is when you go to shrink it, you're going to heat it, and what does Melt Pour soap do with the heat? It melts. So that's not always so great. Okay, I'm using my little coffee frother to break up all my stuff, and this looks beautiful.
What temperature did you add those ingredients in?
This is currently at a 140, but it could be higher or lower. I just kind of got it out of the way. I'm going to dump it in. It's a beautiful creamy color from the honey. And currently, I'm still at about a 140, so that's good. And if you see any floaters, maybe a little bit that got floating around, just break them up. You can always put your mini frother right in there. Don't put it too deep or you'll ruin it. But these are beautiful. We sell these at Wholesale Supplies Plus. It is like my best friend for dispersing mica, color. It really gets rid of all those speckles, and it's easy to clean. It just comes apart. Don't make me take it apart. Okay, now as you can see, our finished soap that I put right here is green. And the way we're going to get that green is with the sliced green kiwi mica powder. So you can see that. And what I'm going to do is, once again, I'm a big fan of, I'm going to pull a little bit out, and I'm going to add it to this little cup. Mini mix it and then add it, and then you can add more. And I'm going to go pretty dark because it sparkles and I like to sparkle. I have a funny story about sparkle, but my daughter's here. When she was little and she wasn't allowed to have a Facebook account, she invented the fake name Rachel Sparkle. So, and you can see, just give a holler if you can't see or if you guys have questions. The reason you're going to see a few little bubbles on the top, and this is why you don't want to use the mini frother too much in the big batch, because you don't want to create a bunch of air bubbles. I'm going to go ahead and just dip that. I'm going to dump it. Now, if I was making this recipe to be reproduced, I would have been more specific, maybe with my measurements. I might have used a scale. Our kits are done by weight. You can always use the free conversion table at Wholesale Supplies Plus if you're making it for yourself. For me, batch to batch is not as important for the same tone of green as it is, does it not stain the skin? Is it beautiful? Do I like it? Clearly, when we made this, we used a little less. Got St. Patrick's Day around the corner, so we used a little bit more.
Debbie, could you explain why you don't have to put poly 80 in soap?
Okay, so the question is, why don't we have to use poly 80 in soap? And to understand that, the purpose of poly 80 is to allow oil to disperse in water. And you don't need that in Melt Pour soap because Melt Pour soap has propylene glycol in it. It's one of the ingredients. It's not ethylene glycol. It's not antifreeze or anything like that. It's one of the ingredients, though, that allows the whole formula to work. And it's that same propylene glycol that allows your fragrance oil and a little bit of, maybe we're going to add a little bit of avocado oil, just a smidge, so that we have it on our marketing label, because you know it is avocado soap, avocado fragranced. So you don't need the poly 80 with this soap for that reason. You don't need poly 20, you don't need poly 80. It's got a high amount of propylene glycol, which acts as a replacement kind of for that. So I'm going to have these girls remind me, 2 mLs, correct, girls?
Yes.
Yeah, thanks. And 2 mLs of avocado oil. And that was my daughter who just tripped on probably the shoes I left in the hall. I told you guys, this is like real. Now, if you've watched any of our videos or if you've looked at any of the resources in the library, we say don't add oils and butters to melt and pour soap. But you know, we're always trying like you guys, and we're always pushing the envelope. And we found with this recipe, with the additives of the honey powder and the avocado powder, that little bit of avocado oil gave an extra moisture to the soap, and it did not impede the lather. I don't know why. I'm guessing it's because all of those powders helped absorb maybe the oil. But now you've got real avocado powder, which ours is dehydrated real avocados. You've got avocado oil, and you've got avocado fragrance. So that's that. Any more questions? Nope. Okay. So this is now temping out at a 123, which is a perfect temperature for pouring your second layer. So if you remember from either previous videos that you've watched or any of our resources, Handmade 101 resources, if I were to take hot soap and pour it right on top of this, it's going to melt and break through, and we won't get this beautiful layer. So by waiting until your temperature is about a 126, you're less likely to do that. But if I were to pour this right onto here and it went solid, it's going to break like a puzzle. You need 99% rubbing alcohol, and a lot of it, to become the glue that lets the two marry together. And then what I do is I just pour over a spatula so that I'm not pouring hot soap right on top. Just go back and forth and back and forth. And I have enough that if I was not here, I'd have a little bit to put in a mold. Oh, look at this. You guys, look at this. I want to show you. Okay, so this was the soap we poured earlier. So first, let me pop these bubbles so you don't get air bubbles on the top. This soap, can we get it on camera? I don't know if you can see. It almost reminds me of a Jell-O jiggler. I can touch the top and I can see it slightly wave, but it's got a really thick skin. Kind of like if you made pudding and you put it in the fridge and you didn't put the saran wrap on it. You know how you get that thick skin on your pudding? And that is an okay time to pour, as long as the soap is under 128. The gods came together. This is so exciting. So I'm going to go ahead and do my heavy dose of glue, i.e. 99% rubbing alcohol. And then we're going to go slowly all over. And if you go too hard in one spot, you're going to get what's called a breakthrough. And that's it. I don't know. Those look like they're going to be really cute little sample bars. I get a beer. Come on, you guys. You got to have more questions. All right.
Oh,
yep.
Is the Pro Base MP soap harder than the detergent-free?
Okay, so the question is the Crafter's Choice Pro Base harder? I think really the question is, what's the difference of the Pro Base? Like, you talked about the premium, you talked about the basic, you talked about the detergent-free. What about the Pro Base? Okay, here's the truth. The Pro Base we came out with about 15 years ago, before we had the basic formula and before we had the detergent free. And it was more cost effective than the premium soap. It falls probably somewhere between the premium and the basic, but it was designed for professional crafters that needed to buy huge amounts. That was the only one we sold as pallets, and it was like all our pro people were buying that. And we've looked at discontinuing it over the years, but we have a lot of really big businesses that buy it, so we make it for them, and we decide, you know, the way we work is if we make it available to one person, it's available to all. So that's what's up with the Pro Base. You don't hear us talk about it much because it is what it is. I personally really, really like the premium or the detergent free, but the basic has a great price point, and it's kind of a blend between the two. So I hope that answered your question. All right, I'm going to move this off camera. Thank you. I'm going to move these on a little tray. So bear with me. I appreciate you guys tuning in tonight. And I hope you like the soaping with slippers. Whoop. They're very unscripted. They picked these recipes today because they're very St. Patrick's Day. I just poured soap on my new floor. My husband's going to kill me. Okay, so what I want to do now, though, real quick. Nope, let me hold up. I'm going to unmold the soap. So by the power of television, I have soap all down my new cabinets, and use a bigger tray. What we did is we pre-made one, and I want to show you how to cut a loaf like this. So what you have to first do is pull the sides away. And you need to kind of get the air to unlock. He is going to kill me. And what you'll do is you'll start to see the air form underneath, and that's how you know the airlock is released. It comes out like this. We made this one earlier today. It's absolutely beautiful. Let me clean up just a bit. And what I'm going to use is the Crafter's Choice miter box. And the reason why I wanted to use this today is we get a lot of questions on people who want to get a more straight cut. And as you can see, the miter box is designed to work with the Crafter's Choice rectangle loaves. There's not a lot of give side to side, and it's a nice length. So what you want to do is when you cut, you're just going to use your regular soap cutter. But you want to apply pressure to the end of the loaf, because as you cut, the slipperiness of the soap is going to make it want to kick back, and that's why people get angles. So I'm going to use a straight soap cutter, and I'm not real tall. I'm 5'5", and I just go straight down. And after you do that, take it. It broke apart. No. It did. Oh, okay, I'm going to show you guys how to fix it. Okay, I'm going by hand. Oh my gosh. You guys, tell me the truth. How often have you cut a loaf and you hold your breath? Okay, wait a minute. I want to see if that was me working it out. It's not. Okay, the girls behind the camera that made this soap are totally mortified, and I totally need to buy them a beer right now. They are bright red, but I'm going to tell you what you do. Okay, let's say this happens, because it happens in real life, obviously even on camera, and maybe we're going to have a chance to cut the other one. I felt it kind of breaking. And I don't know if you guys have seen any of my posts. I'm having some trouble with the strength in my right hand, which is causing an issue to cutting. So what I would do, I'm going to tell you, in real life, if I was making this for craft shows or for whatever, I would literally, and if you look, it doesn't look like it. It isn't until you cut it. But I would go ahead and cut it. And what you can do is you can remelt these, and you can remelt this, and we're going to go ahead and do it again. Do you want my beer? Either of you? Oh, great. Now I'm spilling. I told you the shenanigans were up today. These are the little leprechauns. What we're going to do, we're not going to take that one. Shoot. No. I'm thinking, can we have a bigger tray out of the back pantry? We'll see if we can't get this one to cool. You know, that's okay. It's not going to cool. So what I would do is I would go ahead and remelt these. You guys, it happens every day. It happens to the best of us, even the team that's in the back that does this every day. And I'd melt these. I would not add, you can sit right there, thank you. I would not add more fragrance. You're on camera, thank you. I would not add more fragrance. Don't add more additives. Try to heat it no more than like a 140 because it's already been heated once. Because you're reheating it once, you do not need to add any more water. If you do this again and it breaks apart again, then add about a tablespoon of water per pound of soap, and you'll be good to go. So, how are the comments on Facebook now? So, sorry about that. Okay. Ready? Okay. All right. Do you guys, I want to see hearts or thumbs up. Do you want to see this being made? Yes or no? Yes or no? Yes or no? Oh, you guys, I have a huge delay here from what you do. We're going to go ahead and do it because I have everything here. So let's start with the shower gel. Now, the shower gel, what we're going to use for this one is the suspension, the Crafter's Choice Liquid Suspension Soap Base. And I always sort of chuckle, for lack of a better, that people say, can I use the body wash as a hand soap? Absolutely. Can I use the hand soap as a body wash? Absolutely. You guys, there's no rules. You make your own rules. I like this recipe because it's super easy and it makes a really pretty, I don't know if you see the suspended Vitaburst beads. You can stop there or you can add a little bit of a jojoba bead. The difference between the two is the Vitaburst beads will pop on your skin and the jojoba beads are more of an exfoliant. So this recipe is 16 ounces. And this comes pre-measured. So what do you think their punishment should be for that breaking apart? Holy cow, you don't do that to the boss. I'm teasing you, you know. So we have 1 pound of wash. And I like to add, a lot of people ask, how much fragrance do you add? Do you still add the 3% like a melt and pour base or a 6%? I personally feel like we over fragrance or over aroma our lotions and our liquid washes in this country. We want our bathrooms to smell so good, whatever, but it's like a really strong smell on your hands. So I don't like to go over 1%. So I'm going to add, in this case, I'm going to add just 3 mLs, and I'm going to see where we're going. This fragrance that we're going to use today is Irish Spring because St. Patty's Day is coming up. Oh, this smells just like Irish Spring. Oh, it's a comparable Irish Spring. It is not the real thing. And I'm just going to add 3 mLs, and I'm going to see where I'm at when I mix it. That's way under the, this one's kind of big, it's all right. It's way under the recommended use. But again, I don't like it smelling real super strong. Yeah, this is plenty. For me, this would be plenty strong in the shower. I got to be honest with you, let alone at my sink. So you can add more if you like. I really recommend 1% or less. And then as you can see, it clouds a little bit, and that's because we just added fragrance oil to a water-based product. And what you can do is you could add a little bit of poly 20 if you wanted, or what I do is I just heat it up just very briefly for about 15 seconds, not warm enough to destroy the preservative system, but just enough to force the two together. And I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. If you pan over, you can see the lovely soap all the way down my microwave.
Someone would like to know if you can add the FOEO modifier to make it not cloudy.
Yes, so you could add the question is, can you add the EOFO modifier? Absolutely. I love that modifier because it stays really clear. Just make sure that you modify the fragrance, and what you're actually doing is creating a new fragrance oil at that point that's water soluble. So you don't need to list it on your ingredient label. It just becomes part of the fragrance formula. This is perfect. And then a lot of people ask how many Vitaburst beads do we add and whatnot. You're gonna hand me oh, I got it, look. I don't know if you guys tuned in 2 episodes ago where we could not open the bags. Let me do this. I just need a little spoon. I'm going to do this just because we're on camera. Normally I would not do this in real life. I would get a new spoon. And this is a 1/4 of a teaspoon, and I want you to see how much, when those suspend, they suspend quite well. And that is, whoa, plenty in here. No more. Perfect. And this, just to show you, this would be a 1/2 ounce bag of the Vitaburst beads. So you saw how little we used. This goes really, really far. And then we'll go ahead and go as they designed it and put some of the jojoba beads in, which will give you a little bit of an exfoliant when you use it on your hands. We have some great Vitaburst beads right now that are green that we got from a very major, large retail brand as a surplus product. So if you want green Vitaburst beads, there's still some in the surplus area, but they're going quickly. And then I think I want to add a little bit of green dye. Did we bring any? Perfect. So the Crafter's Choice Crystal Clear Green Dye, and in this case it is the forest green. Just going to add, that is like 2 drops you saw. Let me add 1 more drop. So the question I get quite often is, how do I know if I've added too much color? Whenever you're coloring hand soap, shower gel, liquid washes, and lotion, you always want it to apply in clear. So the hand soap, it's fine to color it, but the bubbles should always remain clear. Lotion, it's fine to color it, but it should always rub in clear. And that way you know that you're not going to stain somebody, which would be bad. I'm going to put my glasses on for this. I love these funnel pitchers. We sell these also at Wholesale Supplies Plus. So let us know if you like this more relaxed way of making things in our kitchen. And don't fill it up all the way. Or if you prefer us to make products in the sort of the lab, I'll show you how to clean that up. In the lab or at Handmade Studio in a more controlled area, let us know. This is now our third soaping and slippers. So I'm anxious to get some feedback because we've really wondered if you guys like it. Should we keep doing it in the house? You know, it's a lot of work to bring the whole crew over. And you don't always have all the equipment, but I kind of feel like this is where I started. I'm able to be honest with you guys and raw. Obviously, like when soap breaks up. So what I did is I probably, because I don't do this every day, probably filled this one up a little bit too much because when you put the pump in, it takes space.
Everyone is saying that they love it.
You love it? Oh, you guys, you're my heroes. All right, so I probably would make one more batch of this. Do I have pumps? And so what we're going to do is I'm just going to stop here because you guys can understand, maybe make another batch, get 2 bottles. But what we're going to do is, I need the scissors. This is why she said it, Debbie, you need the scissors. Let me go off camera here. So a lot of people ask, you know, we carry one dip tube, and we carry one dip tube on our pumps and sprayers at Wholesale Supplies Plus because we carry so many different bottles. But what you do is I'm going to grab a bottle here. Before you get started, you would take and measure. You're going to hold, can you see that? You're going to hold the edge of the black here to where it would not at this edge, but at this edge. And you're going to identify how much extra dip tube you have. And the trick is you want to cut it at an angle so that air can get in the product, but it's sitting at the bottom. So it would be like that. And the nice thing is with this technique is if the product is clear, you don't have this tube all wound up. You have it cut nice and right to the angle, or right to the length of the bottle. So that's what I would do with this one. I'll go ahead and make a mess. Eyeball it. A little bit more. And again, I should have done this before, but I was kind of flustered from that soap breaking up. Anyway, I'm going to do that. And then what we did is, because we have been working so hard with what you guys have been saying, we came up with these really cute labels that say Fresh and Clean Scrubby Hand Soap. And these are free at Wholesale Supplies Plus. Go to Handmade 101. The design is free. You can print it on your own paper. You can buy paper from us. You can cut them out. You can do whatever you want. But the label design is absolutely free. And then what we want to do, I like it when my label is kind of this, like if it's back here, if it's back here, my pump is pointing this way. I like it to be on the same side as the pump is pointing. And that's it. Goes right on. Let's do this one.
Debbie, someone would like to know if there's a trend regarding what bottles and jars to use with what products.
So the question is there a trend in bottles? And I'm not seeing a huge trend. The trend I'm seeing is simplistic, and that the bottle or the jar should sort of match your brand. So if you have sort of for example, if you have a unisex or a masculine brand, I don't know that the Cosmo Oval, which is kind of curvy, or the Naples would be an appropriate, wouldn't be a popular bottle shape to go with a masculine line. That would be something like either a square or maybe an amber or a black bottle, will often go, but I'm not really seeing a trend so much in the shape of the bottle. I'm seeing more of the trend in the label design and the simplicity and that. The other trend I'm seeing, which is totally kind of against what goes on right here, is I'm seeing a trend for less and less color added to products, and those people using more the cobalt blue bottles, the amber bottles, the green bottles, the white, the black, so that you're not able to see color changes from vanilla and additives, and then they're not using the synthetic colors. So I am seeing that trend in the natural line. I'm not seeing that trend in the tween market. They still like the bright colors and whatnot. Good question.
To answer your question before, people did want to see you make.
Oh, thank you. Awesome. Okay, so then let's go ahead and do the soap. Let me make a little, or the lotion. Let me make a little bit of room here. Yeah, let me dump in the basket. Oh, you guys are so awesome. I personally love doing this. It's been a long road for, don't let the mica, I'm holding on to the mica. If that goes flying, my husband will really kill me. We're good. You know, a lot of people ask, how did you get started? In fact, there's a question right now going around one of the Facebook groups. I don't think it was ours, on why did you get started and why do you do it? And I don't know if you guys have read my bio, but I was like a lot of you. I needed to pay bills. I needed an activity or a hobby so that I didn't kind of go crazy with being a nurse and a mom and having a daughter with some disabilities. So I started making soap, and I quickly fell in love with it, and I started selling it. And then we started selling supplies, and then I quit selling it because I would never want to compete with our customers. So we don't sell any finished products. So sometimes I'm a little rusty, but the beauty of what sometimes I think I can bring to the table is I hear from 50,000 people a year about what works, what they don't like, and I can help filter that and bring it to you guys for trends and all that good stuff. So, all right, are we ready for some lotion? Okay. Bye, Katie. My daughter's heading out to volleyball practice now. Be safe. Love you too. Okay, so that's that. Wipe my mouth. Okay. Okay, so this one we're not going to use, I already got rid of the fragrance, good. We are going to use a new fragrance to Wholesale Supplies Plus, which is Crafter's Choice Eucalyptus, Mint, and Sage. And I want to smell this for you and describe it. Oh, I like this. So if you've smelled eucalyptus spearmint, to me it almost smells, eucalyptus spearmint's one of the yummiest fragrances. It reminds me of just getting better from a cold and aromatherapy. This is a little bit sweeter. The mint is more of a blend of a spearmint and a peppermint. And I think the sage gives it a really nice anchor. I like this. It doesn't have that hit your nose menthol eucalyptus note. And I would say it's great for a unisex. I would like this in my shower. I love eucalyptus, but I get tired of it. So, and sometimes I think of it more as just a Christmas fragrance.
Can you talk about the natural fragrance oil?
Sure. Is this a natural? Oh, this is a natural because, you know, Debbie's quick. So a lot of people ask what are natural fragrance oils, and we are using one today. Natural fragrance oils are a blend of, well, they're all natural ingredients, and they are molecules that have been taken from nature that have an aroma, and they've been combined sometimes with natural resins, sometimes with natural essential oils, and all of those together make a natural fragrance oil. And the beauty of these is that you can get really pretty fragrances that you can't always just get with an essential oil. You can get watermelons and sea salt and driftwoods and some really unique fragrances. Now I will tell you, I love these in lotion. I love them in hand soap. I love them in bath bombs. I'm not a huge fan in cold processed soap. We continue to test them in cold process, and they work okay. But I really think these fragile natural molecules don't play well with the high pH required for saponification. So that would be the only thing I would tell you is if you're a cold process soap maker, try them, look at the reviews at Wholesale Supplies Plus. Kudos to all our customers who lend all their different recipes. You know, we may test something, but your recipe might have more hard oils, maybe use different temps, different amounts. So you may have a different outcome of using a fragrance oil, and that's why, you know, we just love all of the reviews. But that's all about the natural fragrance oils. That's how I like to use them. Linen sprays, all of that kind of stuff. Just not a huge fan in cold process soap. You can try it, but mixed results. Is that good? Okay, great question. Keep feeding your questions. I will tell you, I am not a fan of how Facebook displays the Q&As. Like if you ever watched a video like this, like the next day, and you can't follow the questions, and you're, you know, listening to the video, and then you're reading the comments, and the comments don't always go with the time in the video because you're reading ahead. So I'm not a fan of that. So ask your questions. We'll provide a lot of links. I'll go on and I'll answer also in writing a lot of the questions, just because I think Facebook hasn't quite caught up with how we're all using video yet. They'll get there, I hope. So this lotion is the goat milk and honey lotion. This one's the paraben free, and it is absolutely the exact recipe as the goat milk and honey. It's just paraben free. I will tell you, I read a report this week put out by the CIR, and they are the Cosmetic Ingredient Review Panel. I don't know if you guys saw this, but they were asked to reassess the safety of parabens. Because, you know, there's these consumer groups that are convinced parabens are awful. And the CIR just did a review of all the studies, and it's leaning towards parabens are safe and not a problem. But you know, you consider, even though that's okay, you know, some consumers want paraben free. So we took our most popular lotion, we still have it with parabens. That's our regular goat milk and honey, and we made one paraben free so you have options. But I just start to wonder, boy, I wonder if this has been a lot of propaganda and there's no problems, because where are the studies? And you've made all these handmade soap makers crazy. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to heat this up slightly, but not so high that it impacts the efficacy or the effectiveness of the preservative. If you didn't want to risk heating this, maybe you're selling it, you're not using it for personal use, what I would do is I would have put a plastic bag over a deli tub or a bowl, and I'd mix it all in there, and then I would take and I'd clip the end and I would pipe it into my bottles. I can tell you I have always heated the lotion bases just slightly, not boiling, not in the 170s, down into that 120 area where the preservative is still effective, and I've never had a problem. But I always say if you're selling it like mass retail, your standards are a whole nother ballgame because you're dealing with consumers. And I would put this in a bucket with a bag. I'd mix everything. I'd use my mixer. I'd do all my things. And then I would just clip the end and pipe it in. So let me know if you have questions on that. We might be able to do a quick video, just like one of our simple secret videos, to show you that. So I'm going to go over here and heat it up slightly. Just going to go 30 seconds. And this was 16 ounces. Again, with lotion, just like the shower gel or the wash, and this will clear as it sits, by the way. It'll end up looking just like that. Might be a little bit lighter. I don't like going heavily fragranced. I don't like, even though it's a natural fragrance oil, I just don't personally like to smell like one fragrance all day. And I don't know if you've used any of these funnel pitchers before, but they can go into the microwave. They don't melt. We had someone recently tell us theirs melted. I don't know what they did to it. We've used them for a long time, and we've never had a problem. Now watch, with how today's going, it'll melt. It's thinner, but we're gonna go a little bit longer. We're only at 85 degrees, which is just slightly warmer than what's in the house right now. So you want to do 30-second intervals. Stir because we don't want to overheat it. We don't want it to boil. You could go 15-second if you want. You see my beautiful soap down the microwave? We'll check on it here. Just about at 100. So if you walk away with anything, I would say if you had to buy one piece of equipment, the temp gun and a scale are my two best friends. Probably the temp gun more than the scale. Because temperature is everything with working with melt and pour soap and some of these bases.
Can you
Perfect.
add extra oils and powders to a lotion base?
So the question is, can you add extra lotion, oils and powders? So the question is, can you add oils and water or additives?
Like oils and powders.
Okay, oils and powders. So lotion is oil and water that's been emulsified with a wax. You can add, I have had success with more oil because it just becomes sort of suspended in there. I don't have a lot of success adding more water. It can often break the emulsion and mess up your preservative system. You can add powders. I don't recommend, for Crafter's Choice, adding more than 3% total additives because of the preservative system. We've preserved it very well knowing that you're going to add additives to it, but if you go and add 25% shea butter, there's not enough preservative in there for you. You've broken the balance. So I hope that helps. Let's see where we're at temp-wise. We're at 110. I think we're going to go for it. So this is 16 ounces of fragrance. So, tell me how many mLs, girls. I don't have my conversion chart here.
How many ounces? Sorry.
Yeah, 16 ounces.
16 ounces.
Of
So it would be 0.5 ounces. So you would do about 12 milliliters, give or take.
I'm not putting 12 milliliters in here. I'm putting 3 milliliters in. Let's see how it goes. Thank you. I don't know if you've been over to Handmade 101, which is at Wholesale Supplies Plus, but there's on the left-hand side of that page, there's a conversion chart that I love. And you can just look at like how many ounces of base and what percent additives, and it'll do the calculation for you. If we were back at Handmade Studio, I have that actually laminated on the girls have it laminated on the refrigerator. This is beautiful. I'm not going to add jojoba beads to this one. Oh, you think?
The Vitaburst beads?
I like the Vitaburst beads. Yeah, let's see. We have some, I'm going to add some green and some, are they here? There we go. They were under a label. Thank you. So we're going to do the green Vitaburst beads. And I do like these the best because there is olive oil in them. So when you rub them into your skin, they actually burst. So if you guys like the soaping and slippers, tell me if you like this more sort of relaxed format where we don't rehearse it. And it's a lot like how, I don't know, if you got a kid at home, it'd be kind of like what you're going through, I guess. I thought you might like it, but it's always nice to have some feedback. And again, with these beads, you can see you've got, oh, so many batches. That was just a fourth of a teaspoon. And this one, let's see, you could easily, can we get a shot here? If you just wanted this white with some green, the Vitaburst beads, it would be absolutely beautiful. But I also want to show you how to just add that little bit of color with, again, it's a water-based product, so you want to use the stained glass colors, and we're going to add just the forest green, and I'm just going to add 2 drops, 1, 2. These are the sample bottles, and I don't know if you guys have seen this, but this is a lot of dye. The sample sizes of the Crafter's Choice are really quite generous. Somebody recently said, why don't you sell a 1 ounce size of color? And I thought, oh my gosh, that's so close to our sample sizes. Be better off just buying a few samples. So I added total about 4 drops of color. And let me tell you, 3 mLs with this fragrance is plenty. It is very strong. Now this has started to thicken up just a little bit on me. I'm going to check the temperature. We're at like 100. I'm going to pop it in just for a few seconds so it becomes a little bit more liquid for pouring. And again, we're way within our maximum temperature to preserve the preservative system, to not ruin the preservative system.
Someone would like to know if wholesale would start selling 1 ounce fragrances.
So the question is, will Wholesale Supplies Plus start selling 1 ounce fragrances? And the answer is no. And the reason is our filling equipment doesn't allow for it. The 1 ounce bottles have a very small neck size that won't work with our filling. And also, frankly, the 1 ounce bottles, glass bottles, oh, this is good, are so expensive that the price is not like it's half of the 2 ounce. It starts to become cost prohibitive. In other words, there's really not a great price break. I'm going to go ahead and heat this one more time. So we don't. Now, if you order Handmade Magazine, you get some sniffy samples in there. We make out, I don't know, somewhere between 500 and 1,000 sniffy samples a month based on how many subscriptions. Those are the ones that sign up for like a 1 year or a subscription every month that gets mailed to their home. So you can get those sniffy samples. You don't get to pick them. But the other answer we have to the issue of the 2 ounce samples is if you're a customer of Wholesale Supplies Plus, you get those 50% off coupons in your coupon vault. So and then you get to pick whatever fragrance you want. So this is great, $1.15.
Someone is also asking about maybe 25-pound bags of citric acid.
The manufacturer does not make 25-pound bags, so our bulk program, which is where the 55-pound bags come in, those are direct from the manufacturer. The reason why we're able to offer those prices so inexpensively is we're just taking a very slight markup, and we're really not handling it. We're not repacking it. We might be boxing it in the case of citric acid, but we're not doing a whole lot to it. Manufacturers don't make a 25-pound bag, so your only option is to do 5 5-pounders or to do the 55-pound bag. That's on the citric acid, baking soda, Epsom salts, all of those that come.
Also, general
Woohoo! You guys are my idol. Thank you. So you see how nice these funnel pictures are, you guys? And you can just microwave it. Somebody was out there saying that they get deformed, and again, I'm not going to say it can't happen. I don't know what they did to it, because you just saw me microwave it 5 times or 4 times. So we need a vote online for this video on how to break the news to my husband that I got soap all over our brand new kitchen floor, wood floor. So if you want to get creative, okay, here's what we're going to do. $25 gift certificate to whoever has the most creative suggestion on how to break the news to Dave that I have soap on the wooden floor, and we will take a vote tomorrow morning at 9 o'clock in the marketing department, and we will announce the winner, and you'll get a $25 wholesale supplies plus gift certificate. So make your suggestions now. Okay. All right, so you guys have the gist here, and I would heat that up some more and whatnot. But I really wish you guys could smell this through the computer. And any more questions?
No, we're having people give you lots of suggestions on how to clean up the soap.
Well, I know how to clean it up. I got to break it to old man Dave.
Doreen said you should hand him a mop.
Okay, Doreen, so far you're number 1.
Christina said tell him the dog did it.
Christine, love it. I got 2 dogs. They both did it in concert, I'm sure.
Dawn says tell Heather you were testing how clean you could get the floor with melt and pour for customers.
Since he makes the melt and pour too. Love it, Doreen.
Tell him your soap is as clean as, wow, cleans your body so well that you wanted to make the floor just as clean.
Oh, how about I wanted to make the floor just as hot as my husband?
Peggy says you found some leprechauns making soap in the wood floor by seeing, and you wanted to see how well it held up.
Oh, I like that, Peggy.
Then we have a variety of people say making breakfast in bed, or make a bigger mess in the hallway and see how he reacts.
I like that. I like the bigger mess. I like it. Keep them coming, you guys. You're awesome. Labels. Guess where they're at? Handmade 101. You got it?
Yep.
Free designs. You know where to get them. And we put, if you want to pre-buy the paper, we put which paper. You can buy that too at wholesale. Some people will buy one big sheet and print them and cut them, or you can buy them pre-die cut. Just put them on. Now, one thing I just occurred because I was so flustered. Oh, I almost put this one upside down. One of the things you should do when you heat your base, can you get a close-up of this? I want to show this. If you heat the base and you cap it, you're going to get condensation. That condensation risks mold. So if you do end up heating the base for filling, leave these off slightly. Don't even put them in, or just leave them off slightly, so that condensation can release and it doesn't build up. Remember, the condensation is not preserved, so it could actually mold. So if you're doing this at home, don't cap them right away. Let the lotion return to a room temperature and then go ahead and cap them. So that's it. I do want to give you guys a plug. We just sent this to print today. The next Handmade magazine, which will come out it's probably going to come out April 2nd because of the way Memorial Day falls. But it's all about the hot avocado trend. We have a beautiful cold processed soap recipe featuring avocado. We have several really cool geode recipes. Geodes are a big trend because they're back into that retro nostalgia trend. They're part of that. And then, oh, we have a great article about lip safe versus edible ingredients. We feature some Mother's Day selling tips. So I bring this up because if you subscribe, you will be the first people to get it in your mailbox. You'll get at least 5 samples, and they're sniffy samples or little samples so you can maybe touch and feel. You can't really use them too much for manufacturing. Maybe the colors you can if there happens to be some, but it's a nice little perk. So our subscriptions are automatically mailed. I'm going to take a little drink here. And if you don't want to do the subscription, we sell these also single issues at Wholesale Supplies Plus. This will come out April 2nd. Past issues are on there, so go to the tab, I think that says Handmade Magazine. You'll see that. Excuse me. If you order at least $40 a year at Wholesale Supplies Plus, go to My Account, click on your digital bookcase, and all of these are free. You can't download them because we ran into a problem with people downloading them and spreading them across the internet. We kind of thought that's not a really big perk for our customers if everybody can get it. So go to the bookcase. They're there forever. We have past years. As soon as you buy 40, you get all past years and the current. So,
can you test the lotion before you sign off?
Oh, sure. So the question is, can I test the lotion? Oh, it's nice and warm too. So I had some blood drawn this week, so ignore the bruise there. And you can see, I can feel the little jojoba beads. They kind of scratch a little, and then I can feel them popping. It smells really nice, and you can see it doesn't go in green. That's the beauty of a nice light color. And it's not greasy at all. If anything, I think the reason why this lotion is so popular is it almost feels more of a little bit wet, like a moisturizing wet, and then it rubs in, it just rubs in nice. It's not slippery, it's not sticky, it doesn't have that silicone feel because it has the natural shea butter in it. It's got the goat milk, it's got the honey. Looks great. I can pick something up, I can open a lid, I'm not too sticky. So that's it, you guys. Thanks for bearing with us today. We are totally mortified. It fell apart, but you all know that when you cut that loaf of soap, we all hold our breath. And with Melt and Pour Soap, the really cool thing is you can remelt it and redo it. You don't need to throw it away. So that's it. I do have a really big announcement in April, which is our next Soaping and Slippers. Do we have the date yet? April 26th. April 26th. Sharon Johnson is flying in for that. And going to do Soaping with Slippers, hot process soap with all of us. So please mark your calendars. That's super exciting. I've never met Sharon in person, and I'm super, super stoked. So that's it. Don't forget, make your suggestions for a chance to win. Otherwise, you guys, I really appreciate you tuning in. Make it a great night. See you later. Bye.